In the chaos of the 5th century, the Roman Empire was teetering on the brink of collapse. Northern Italy burned under the relentless invasion of the Huns, and even the Eternal City, mighty Rome itself, trembled in fear. Yet, from this crucible of destruction, a new city would rise, a city destined to one day rule the seas. That city was Venice. Welcome to NeoHistoricaAI, where we explore the epic stories of how nations rise, fall, and ultimately reshape our world. Today, we're diving deep into the canals of history to uncover how Venice, a city born from fear and the raw instinct for survival, transformed itself into a global trade empire unlike any other. It all begins in the year 452 CE. Attila the Hun and his armies were tearing through the Italian peninsula, leaving a trail of devastation. Terrified refugees, desperate to escape the slaughter, fled to the shallow, marshy lagoons of the Adriatic Sea. They sought shelter on islands that seemed inhospitable, with poor soil and little to offer. But what these islands lacked in land, they made up for with the sea. These first settlers, the Proto-Venetians, were survivors. They adapted, learning to live from the rhythms of the tide. They became expert fishermen, mastered the art of salt harvesting from the brackish waters, and soon began trading these essential goods with mainland communities. They were building a new way of life, literally from the water up. Slowly but surely, small settlements grew across the lagoon's scattered islands. Facing new threats from Goths, Lombards, and later the Franks, these independent communities realized that unity was their only hope for survival. They formed alliances, building a loose confederation for mutual protection. By the early Middle Ages, this network of islanders took a monumental step. They elected their first leader, a figurehead they called the Doge. This act marked the official birth of the Venetian Republic, a state that would endure for 1,000 years. As Venice grew, it found itself in a precarious position, caught between two colossal powers, the Byzantine Empire to the east, the heir to Rome, and the newly formed Frankish Empire under Charlemagne to the west. A lesser state might have been crushed, but Venice learned to play the giants against each other. Survival depended not on brute force, but on cunning diplomacy. This strategy was put to the ultimate test when Charlemagne's son, Pepin, decided to conquer the upstart republic. As his invasion fleet approached, the Venetians didn't meet them in open battle. Instead, they executed a brilliant strategic retreat, pulling back their ships and people deeper into the labyrinthine channels of the lagoon. The swamps became their impenetrable fortress. Pepin's heavy ships got stuck in the shallows, his soldiers fell prey to disease in the marshy environment, and his campaign ended in a humiliating failure. This victory was a turning point. Shortly after, the Byzantine Empire, impressed by Venice's resilience, formally recognized its independence. This diplomatic masterstroke positioned Venice perfectly. It was no longer a vassal or a buffer state. It was a sovereign power, a bridge between the East and the West. It became the essential gateway for trade in medieval Europe, and its fortunes were about to skyrocket. With their independence secured, Venetian merchants wasted no time. They were ambitious, clever, and unafraid of risk. Their ships, initially carrying basics like grain, salt, and timber, soon began traversing the Mediterranean. They traded these goods, and controversially, slaves, for the exotic luxuries of the East, silks from China, fragrant spices from India, and gleaming gold from the Byzantine markets. Venice's influence grew exponentially. They established a powerful presence in Constantinople, building warehouses and controlling the flow of goods. The spice routes, in particular, became their gold mine, making the city rich beyond imagination. But immense power often breeds arrogance. As Venice's wealth grew, its relationship with its old protector, Byzantium, began to sour. The breaking point came with the Fourth Crusade. In 1204, the Venetians, driven by a mix of religious fervor and cold commercial calculation diverted the crusade to attack their Christian rivals in Constantinople. The sack of the city was brutal, but for Venice, it was a staggering success. They returned home laden with spoils, gaining control of strategic ports across Greece and acquiring a vast collection of priceless relics, including the magnificent bronze horses that still adorn St. Mark's Basilica. Venice was no longer just a merchant republic. It was an imperial power. By the 14th century, Venice was at the zenith of its power. La Serenissima, the most serene republic, was the undisputed queen of the Mediterranean. Its primary rival, Genoa, fought fiercely for control of the sea lanes, but Venice's navy, backed by its disciplined merchant class, proved superior. The heart of this maritime dominance was the Venetian arsenal. This was no ordinary shipyard. It was a massive, state-owned industrial complex, the largest in Europe. Using standardized parts and an early form of the assembly line, the arsenal could construct a fully equipped warship in a single day. It was the industrial engine that fueled the Republic's military and commercial might. But no golden age lasts forever. The world was changing. In 1453, the Ottoman Empire conquered Constantinople, shattering Venice's long-held trade monopoly in the east. This was a devastating blow. Then, at the end of the century, a new era of exploration began. Spanish and Portuguese navigators, seeking alternative routes to the Indies, sailed west and discovered the New World. Global trade routes, once centered on the Mediterranean, shifted dramatically to the Atlantic. Spices and silks that once flowed through Venetian ports now arrived in Lisbon and Seville. Venice's economic lifeline was severed. The republic that had once ruled the waves found itself slowly, irreversibly, receding with the tide. Even in its decline, Venice remained a beacon of something truly special. In a world dominated by absolute monarchies and feudal lords, it was a republic. Its leader, the Doge, was an elected official with carefully limited powers, constantly checked and balanced by powerful merchant councils. For these councils, profit and stability were always more important than personal glory or endless war. This unique political structure fostered a different kind of greatness. Venetians became known not for their conquests, but for their unparalleled creativity and innovation. They produced the world's finest glass on the island of Murano, wove luxurious silks, and perfected the art of mosaics. They were also pioneers in finance, developing early banking systems and double-entry bookkeeping that became the backbone of the Renaissance economy. They proudly called themselves the true heirs of Rome, and in many ways they were. Not in military might, but in their spirit of law, commerce, and civic-minded ingenuity. They built an empire on water, sustained by trade, and left a legacy of art and culture that still dazzles the world. From terrified refugees huddled in a swamp to the masters of the sea, the story of Venice is a powerful testament to human resilience. It proves that lasting power can be built not just through conquest and swords, but through vision, unity, and the transformative power of trade. Venice didn't just inherit history, it created it. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to NeoHistoricaAI, and ring that notification bell. We have so many more stories to share where history meets imagination. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next adventure.